Hey, how you doing? Still on vacation here, as you can probably tell. But I put together a couple of excellent features from past videos, so please watch and comment and hit that like and subscribe button if you can. Every time you do, a little sun-soaked angel gets its wings. Later. Okay, feature time. And I want to start gently because I know this following feeling well. You find a LARP that looks incredible, the photos are gorgeous, the pitch makes your brain sparkle, you can almost see yourself there. And then your stomach does that little drop, because along with excitement, a bunch of fears show up. Some practical, some emotional, some deeply, deeply human. So let's do the one thing that we almost never do in LARP spaces. Let's name the fears, and then dismantle them with kindness and specifics. Fear 1. I'm not an actor. Well, you don't need to be. A lot of people assume that LARP means performance, like you're expected to deliver speeches, or cry on cue, or be charismatic in public. But most LARP play is simpler than that. It's response, it's listening, it's making choices. If you can do this in real life, walk into a party and figure out the vibe, talk to someone one-on-one, ask a question, react honestly when someone is upset, well, then you can LARP. Some people LARP loudly, some people LARP quietly. A good game has space for both. Fear 2. I don't want to fight. Well, then don't. There are entire categories of LARP where combat is irrelevant. Vampire LARPs, court games, intrigue games, mystery games, diplomatic games. Convention of Thorns, for example, is vampire politics, not foam sword Olympics. And Bridge Command is essentially narrative teamwork and problem solving. You're not winning by force, you're winning by coordination. Combat is one flavor, not the whole menu. Fear 3. I'll do it wrong. I'll miss all the rules. I'm going to ruin someone else's experience. Well, this is one of the most common fears, and honestly, one of the most tender. Here's the truth. Most LARP communities expect that new people are new. If a game is well run, it will have onboarding, briefings, staff points of contact, and ways to ask questions without feeling like you're interrupting the real players. And your job isn't to be perfect. Your job is to be present, respectful, and willing to learn. Fear 4. I'm just going to wind up embarrassing myself. This is a big one underneath many fears. It's silly, it's childish, I'm an adult, I'm not supposed to be doing this. What if someone I know sees me? Well, let me tell you something that might sound obvious but helps. Embarrassment is the feeling of being judged, and LARP at its best is a room full of people that have mutually agreed not to judge each other. That's the whole fact. Also, this is important. Adults need pretend worlds. And that's just not a cute slogan. Adults role play constantly. In job interviews, at weddings, in corporate events, in networking spaces, at fancy dinners where we pretend to know which wine is what. The difference is in LARP, the pretending is honest. It's play on purpose. And that's healthier than the pretending we do out of fear. So if embarrassment is your biggest barrier, here are 2 practical hacks. Start with a format that reduces performance pressure. A small parlor-style game, a structured immersive like Bridge Command or Phantom Peak, or a beginner-friendly campaign chapter. Also, choose a costume baseline that feels safe. You don't need a masterpiece. You need good enough to feel inside the world. Fear 5. What if it's emotionally intense? Well, this is where we talk about bleed and drop. Not as scary buzzwords, but as normal human responses. Sometimes you play a character who feels things you don't normally let yourself feel. Sometimes the weekend ends and you feel kind of weird, hollow, restless. Well, that's not a failure. That's your nervous system coming down off intensity and community. The solution isn't never play intense games. The solution is plan for afterward. Don't book a brutal Monday morning if you can help it. Eat real food after the game. Junk food or skipping a meal is probably not the best idea. Well, probably not ever, but that's another story. Decompress with a friend and give your brain a day to re-enter normal life. Fear 6. Is it safe? Modern LARP culture, especially in reputable circles, takes safety seriously. Physical boundaries, emotional consent tools, debrief options, staff support. If a game doesn't communicate safety tools at all beforehand, that's a red flag. Safety isn't the enemy of immersion, it's what lets immersion happen without harm. Fear 7. It's going to be too expensive. Well, let's face it, some LARPs are pricey. People save up all year and longer just to attend their favorite or bucket list LARP. But some are not expensive. The key is you don't have to start with the most expensive version of the hobby. There are local campaigns with manageable weekend costs, day events, parlor games, community-run formats. If you're trying to test the waters, so to speak, start small. Fear 8. What if I don't belong? This is one of the quietest fears, but one of the most important. If you've ever felt like you were too old, too weird, not athletic, not attractive, not extroverted, not nerdy enough, or as this Charlie Brown right here will tell you, maybe all of the above, you are not alone. And the best communities, truly the best ones, are built by people who've decided we're going to make a place where everyone can belong. So here's my practical advice. Before you buy a ticket, look at the game's public tone. Do they describe values? Do they talk about inclusion? Do they explain what play feels like? Do they have clear logistics? A good game doesn't just sell you a fantasy, it shows you how it takes care of its players. So if you're afraid, that's normal. But in most cases, the fear isn't danger. The fear is just the threshold of doing something new. And honestly, the threshold is where the good stories start. All right, feature time. And this week, because it is January and half of us are currently living inside a wool blanket, I want to talk about something we don't do enough of in LARP culture. Not just how do I survive the cold, but how do some games use winter on purpose, as mood, as pressure, as texture, and sometimes as the entire point? Because cold weather LARP isn't one thing. It's at least 3 different categories, and each one asks different things of your kit, your body, and your expectations. So let's break it down with specific examples, and then I'll give you a practical checklist you can actually use before you commit your weekend and your toes to the experience. Category 1, the Castle Winter. You sleep indoors, but the season is still part of the magic. This is the version where winter is mostly outside the windows, but it's still doing heavy lifting vibe-wise. The cleanest example of this took place this past December, actually. College of Wizardry 27 Wintertide. It was an immersive magic school weekend at a castle in Poland. The pitch was very clear. Overnight castle stay, meals, hot drinks included, robes and house badge provided, classic live inside the setting blockbuster immersion. Why winter matters here is subtle but powerful. A castle in winter naturally compresses people together. You get more corridor experiences, more late night whispers, more spontaneous scenes in warm, common areas, more candlelight, more let's talk by the fire because going outside is certainly a choice. Even if the plot isn't winter survival, the season changes how the social fabric behaves. And here's the key prep note for Castle Winter games. Your real enemy is not freezing, it's overheating and sweating indoors and then stepping out into a cold stone corridor or nighttime air. So you pack like you're going to be adjusting constantly. Base layer you can live in, a mid layer you can add, and an outer piece that still reads in setting. That 3-layer logic isn't just LARP wisdom. Outdoor clothing guidance tends to say the same thing. Base layer to wick, middle layer to trap heat, outer layer to block wind and wet. So for castle winter games, I'm thinking a breathable base layer you can stay in all day, costume silhouette as a mid layer, and then one I can step outside outer layer that doesn't destroy the way you look. Category 2, the Winter Lodge. Cabins, camps, heated buildings, and the cold is still part of the weekend. This is the most accessible version of cold weather LARP for a lot of players because you're not sleeping in a tent, but you're also not living entirely indoors. A great example here is LARP Adventures, Winter Council, happening at the lodges in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on January 23rd through 24th, 2026. Its website includes cabin accommodations info. This format is honestly an underrated sweet spot. You can do a winter aesthetic, you can do night scenes, you can do travel-friendly packing, and you still have a retreat base when your body says, okay, we're done being heroic for a moment. And when games are in this category, you can actually lean into winter as a story engine without risking the entire weekend. Here's what winter does best as narrative. Scarcity. Who has resources? Who doesn't? Distance. Your help is far away. Silence. The woods feel bigger at night. Fragility. One mistake matters more. In lodge games, the cold becomes a pressure you can flirt with without it becoming a medical situation. Category 3, the winter field. The cold is not just atmosphere, it's logistics. This is where we talk about the brave, the stubborn, and the people who generally love waking up to frost on their tent canvas. Winter field games can be post-apocalyptic weekenders at camps, campaign games that run in January or February, early spring festival games where nights are still brutal, or survival horror experiences where discomfort is part of the contract. An example of this is Frostpunk, the Last Recon, a psychological survival horror LARP in Poland. It's one of the clearest winter's mechanics examples. It doesn't just say, come suffer for immersion. It tells you what that means materially. The ticket includes accommodation in ruinous fort conditions with camp beds and wool blankets, plus a heated off-game area listed in the included amenities. What, no pool? And that's the real dividing line for Winterfield games. Is the game cold because nature is cold, or is the game cold because the design is deliberately using cold as a constraint? If it's deliberate, you should see some evidence. Heated off-game zone, warm food access, clear safety policy, explicit sleeping conditions, and usually some kind of this is the intended experience language. If you don't see that, then treat it as the organizers might be relying on the players to solve the problem of winter. I.e., there's vague packing advice like dress warm without specifics, and there are no extreme weather plans communicated. That means you need to be more conservative, which means choose the safest lodging option, heated cabin, bunkhouse, over tent if you have a choice. Pack to exceed the expected low, sleep system rated colder than forecast. Bring redundancy, extra base layers, extra socks, always extra socks, backup gloves. Limit night scenes if you can't rewarm easily, and plan for early exits, a car nearby, warm change of clothes somewhere. If you're new to winter camping, don't make your first winter LARP a tent-required game. The big question, do I need to be concerned with weather if I'm not tenting in winter? Well, always, but sometimes it's heat you're concerned with, if not winter. And sometimes you're tenting in winter-adjacent conditions, late fall, early spring, where nights still dip hard. A good example of a game that openly supports tent culture is Empire in the UK. Empire's 2026 dates list winter solstice as April 24th through 26, 2026. Now, April isn't January, but if you've camped in the UK in April, I'm sure it can absolutely behave like winter at night. And Empire doesn't just assume you'll figure it all out. Its official site even has a page describing their official Bale tent partner and how it integrates with camp planners and site logistics. So tenting isn't inherently reckless, but it does mean you're playing a different type of game. Now let's get brutally practical, because the difference between this was the most atmospheric weekend of my life and I hated every minute and my character died of hypothermia in the parking lot is sleep, dryness, and feet. There's a line from LARPin's advice article that I love because it's so plain. If it's cold, thermals are key. That's a gospel to live by. And right after that, the single most important sentence for winter weekenders is get a good sleeping bag. You'll not regret it. If you're doing any kind of winter field or winter lodge game, your packing priority should be sleep system, bag, pad, whatever else keeps you off the ground. Base layers you can rotate so you stay dry. Socks and footwear plan. Outer layer wind protection. And everything else. Because cold doesn't just make you uncomfortable. Cold makes you tired, and tired makes you make bad calls. And if you want a simple costume principle that holds up, one gear guide puts it cleanly. Winter. Layering is important. Warm undergarments and a thick cloak or coat as the top layer. That's it. That's the whole design. Now, the winter trap nobody expects, sweat. If you remember one thing from this segment, make it this. Being cold is annoying. Being wet in the cold is dangerous and also miserable. So if you're going to run around doing combat, hauling props, or sprinting to plot in the woods, you should plan your costume like an adjustable thermostat. If you can't remove something, you'll overheat. If you overheat, you'll sweat. If you sweat, you will chill later. That is why winter LARP hero moments often come from players who look less dramatic but are still present at 2 a.m. because they can regulate. All right, so who is winter LARP for? Winter LARP is for you if you love atmosphere, you like smaller, tighter social scenes, you enjoy survival tone, horror tone, or we're stuck together stories. You'd rather have 3 intense scenes than 12 casual ones. You're okay spending effort on logistics to get something rare back. And it's not for you if you already know cold makes you shut down, you can't sleep unless conditions are perfect, you don't have the budget for proper layers and bedding yet, and you're chasing FOMO instead of chasing serenity. The last one matters, because winter games are often high reward, but they demand honesty. The reason cold weather LARPs are loved is because they create instant stakes. You don't need a villain monologue to feel urgency. The world itself is saying, take care of yourself, take care of your people, or the story just stops. And whether you're doing a castle immersive like College of Wizardry, a winter lodge weekend like Winter Council, a winter survival horror like Frostpunk the Last Recon, or spring but it's still cold tent culture like Empire, the question isn't, can you handle the cold? The question is, do you want the cold to be part of the story you're telling? Because if the answer is yes, winter can turn a normal weekend into something rather mythic. That's it for this week. All official links and resources are in the description below. Please like and subscribe. And while you're on organizers' official pages, remember to read carefully, plan intentionally, and don't feel pressured to chase everything. Remember, don't chase FOMO, chase serenity. And until next time, forward into your story.